So recently I just got a flat on my Aventon Pace 500. The rear tire picked up a tack slash maybe a staple, I should say, and it pierced my tube. So I decided to give it a shot and try to fix this flat myself. Just wanted to take a quick video of kind of the tools that I'll be using. And one of the things that I noticed was that there isn't a video on how to repair this. So first things first that I want to show is I do have the actual bike here with the flat, and I had already loosened up the nuts, and I had to find out kind of the hard way that the back motor that's on this wheel is very heavy. So as you can see, I do have it on my Park Tool mechanic stand. It was a bit heavy, so I actually used one of my dining room chairs here just to kind of help elevate it all the way to the stem here. And I'm a bit short, but I had to go ahead and basically extend the stem so I can clamp it onto the actual stand. So one of the things that I wanted to keep in mind for everyone that might be watching this video or has a similar issue, it's probably best practice to first take a video or take a couple pictures of how it actually inserts into the dropouts here. So you can see during the dropouts. Now, one of the things that happened to me was that when I loosened up the nuts, the actual wheel had fell. It fell and it actually pinched my finger, which hurt pretty bad. But I actually decided to try something else. So I put it back into the dropouts and I just hand tightened the nuts here. And when the wheel did fall, luckily it fell onto this kickstand here. So I was able to hold it. And so one of the things you might want to keep in mind is that you have to disconnect the cable that comes from the motor back to the wheel. That's very important. But as you can probably see here in the video, they are held by some wire ties here. So overall, it's going to be a lengthy process if you happen to cut those wire ties to pull this wheel out. One of the things that I did notice on an Aventon video where they actually changed the front tire on a tutorial was that the actual technician was able to remove the tire here with the tire levers and did not have to actually remove the whole tire off the wheel. So I'm going to try to attempt to fix this tire without even taking it off the actual dropouts here. So this is why I put it back. And if you might notice, they're not all the way up. You might still see, you can still see here that they're not all the way up. So that is super important that once you're finished, whether if you let the bike loose or you do it while it's still on the stand, that they go all the way up and then you tighten accordingly so it could be all aligned here. All right, well, I'm gonna stop the video now and then I will go ahead and set it up and begin to work. One thing to keep in mind is these are the tools that I'll be using, and I will have a link in my bio for all these tools if you happen to have some difficulty finding them. One of the things that I'll be using is some pliers. If I have to remove those wire ties, I'll be using the Aventon tool that comes with the actual bike. I suggest you use some mechanic gloves so you don't, cut your fingers, pierce your fingers, or, something happens to happen, you're probably gonna get hurt because gravity was not in my favor when I actually did this. Or I should say in my favor, excuse me. But also purchased some tire levers, and I also want to replace it with a slime tube. I've used this on another e-bike of mine, and these slime tubes are actually amazing. They're basically designed so if you happen to get another flat, it basically seals itself, right? So you don't have to walk your bike back home, and hopefully you can ride all the way back before all the air is released. With that being said, I will stop this video and get started. All right, let's get started. I am using the Park Tool tire lever set TL 4.2 for anyone that's curious of what I'm using. I'm going to go ahead and put the actual tire lever inside the actual tire, kind of from the instruction video that I seen on Aventon. It's always ideal to have good lighting. This is one of the reasons why I have this light here. So let's see if this works. So you're going to sorry about that. See if I can grab it again. You're going to slowly work your way through the tire on the actual bike, so you can actually get the tire off. And I'm having a little problem here. Now the tire is flat, so it's always ideal to have this a little bit of trouble here. Around it. Okay, there we go. So it's trying to do something here. And again, everyone, this is my first time attempting this. So I'm just slowly go around the rim here. There we go. So you can see now the tire itself is coming off. And again, the tire is completely flat. So if you happen to have any air in the tire, I suggest that you release the air before trying this. Another thing as well, okay, as you can see, finally got the tire off here while it's still on the bike and still actually on the dropouts. So I'm just going to go around and make sure it's completely off here. And from what I can tell here, it looks like the wheel is almost completely off. Just going to go all the way around here. And yeah, looks like it's completely off. Okay, great. Now, from here, you're just gonna slide it over as so, and I can already see the tube here. So I'm gonna turn the actual wheel over to where I can see the stem here. Now that I can see the stem, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the tire back a little bit here so I can pull the actual tube. And this thing might have got pretty warped when I was driving it back here, because what happened was when I got the actual flat, and I'm actually going to start recording from this side, so bear with me while I turn it around here. And you can see I've already taken it out of its actual thing. I'm just going to show really quick how I did that. And I just pulled it out. Now that the tire is back on this side. And one key thing that I want to actually mention here is I am doing this from my actual kitchen, but if you have a garage, it's probably going to be a lot easier. so you can maneuver around, but definitely give yourself enough space. And now that I got the actual tire pulled back, I don't believe you have to take it all out completely, as this tire is pretty easy to bend back. So yeah, I'm gonna start slowly removing the tube. It might get in a little warped, like I said, because I did ride the bike back with the tube the way it was. I have already removed the tack or the staple that was in the tire, so we should be good there. And like I said, slowly just work your way around and remove that tube while it's actually still on the wheel here. Now, that's probably going to be our issue here, is now that we have it off, we are still going to have to slightly take the dropouts out, just so we can, or I should say the lug nuts, just so we can remove the tube. And then we'll put the wheel back up. So I'm gonna pause the video now. As you can see, I already have the tube off the actual tire. But then how are you gonna remove it, right? I mean, you have two options. I mean, the tube's already destroyed. So if you have a utility knife, you probably can cut it, or you can, like I said, remove the lug nuts on both sides of the dropouts here, and then just drop the wheel slightly so you can remove the tube. But that would still require you would have to still take them off anyway, so when you have to put the new tube on. So I'm gonna pause it now and continue once I am ready to install the new tube. And I will, just like I said, I will slightly drop this down, and I will use a chair to actually hold the tire so it doesn't completely fall. Again, it's gonna fall on this stand here. So you can consider the stand here kind of a safety net, but I would suggest you hold it from the bottom here so that the wheel doesn't completely fall off and pinch your hand or anything. Because again, the motor in the back of this bike is pretty heavy. So, and gravity will take effect. It's gonna fall pretty fast. And if you're not ready for it, you're gonna either pinch your finger or get hurt. It's one of the reasons why I have mechanic gloves on. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video. And once I have the wheel slightly off the dropouts, I will slide off the tube and start inserting the new tube. All right, so let me see if I can grab it here. I was able to remove the tube, as I stated earlier, without having to fully take the wheel off here. Again, I'm holding it with my right hand, and as you can see, the tube is completely off. And so I'm going to slightly put this back up, as I was telling you guys earlier. Let's see here if I can get it back up into the dropouts here, just so I can hold it. Actually with the kickstand, so really what all I want to do is be able to hold it back up here, and again, struggling a little bit here. Let's see if I remember more or less where it was at. Okay. And that's what I mean, that you can use the kickstand to kind of hold it in place. If you're not happy with that, just make sure that you pull all the lug nuts back. Okay, and right here. All right. Well, that should work for now. Let's just leave it that way. Because I still have to put the tube on. You probably want to go ahead and just kind of release those nuts as much as possible here. Again, I still have the chain on, guys, so just an FYI. You will probably have to make an adjustment once it's on, but let's get started more or less with the tube. As you can see, I've already peeled the thing back. Kind of a rule of thumb is you want to ensure that you don't have any sharp objects in here from the first time you got the flat. Another thing that I also want to mention is I bought an extra tube just in case, so I don't get a pinch flat. As you can see, I've already peeled the tire back pretty much as far as I can here. And like I said, for the most part, you can see that the actual wheel has been exposed already. It does have a yellow lining inside the Aventon. The next thing will be I will inflate the tube and then carefully, and this is the old one again, and then I will inflate the tube slightly so I can kind of slide it in between here and into the actual wheel here. And then slowly I'm just gonna go ahead and massage it back into the actual wheel. So I will pause that video while I get that ready, and I will continue once the tube is ready for installation. It's a little harder to do it this way, but just keep in mind that this bike is heavy. So if you're gonna do this at home, it's probably easier if you do it on the ground. But one thing that you might wanna consider is, since I do have it on this bike stand itself, it will be moving. So if you try to do this while it's actually on upside down on the seat, you're probably gonna have some movement from the front wheel, and it's gonna probably throw you off a bit. So it'd probably be easier if you don't have a stand to just do it from the ground level, but then also you're probably gonna have to take the wheel completely off so you can actually work a little bit more efficient. Again, this is a little bit more tedious, but it might save you a few steps, right? To remove the chain, kind of loosen that chain up, and also the fact that you don't have to take the whole wheel off, and you have to cut out those zip ties, because you will probably want to replace those zip ties to hold that motor cable in place. So once you start riding, nothing ricochets off and cuts that cable, or it gets snagged on something, and then you're going to have a bigger problem than not. Again, wire ties or zip ties are very cheap. Probably get a pack of 100 for like 99 cents on Harbor Freight, or you could always use Amazon for something like that. Okay, well, with that being said, let me get the other tube ready and see how we do here. All right, so we're back here, and as you can see, I had loosened up the actual dropouts here. It's being held by the actual kickstand. Once I release that kickstand, it's gonna kind of drop. So one of the things I've done so far is I actually inflated the tube a little bit, just so it could get some shape. So when we actually put it back into the tire, it can go ahead and kind of catch its shape. And this is, I guess, what bike repair mechanics do, or bike mechanics, so you don't get a pinch flat. Again, this is my first time attempting this. So if you happen to get a pinch flat, unfortunately, it's always best practice to go and have a spare just in case. And then I guess you could just do it the original and remove the whole tire. So here we go. I also put a table here. So when it does drop, I also have a towel underneath here. That's just to hold the weight, so you're not holding the actual tire, the actual wheel, while you're actually maneuvering the tube back into the tire itself. I did see an Aventon mechanic actually do this without having to use the bike tire lever to put the tire back on. So what I'm hoping is that once I have the tube inside, that I can go ahead and just massage it back into the wire bead, or the bead of the tire, back onto the rim, and inflate it fully. Put the wheel back in and make sure everything's aligned again, as I said. And yeah, hopefully that'll be it. So here we go. Okay. As you can see, now the weight has, that's all I really wanted here. I just can kind of get it through that crevice there. And a table like this always helps. You can find these type of tables at Walmart or something like that. They sell them relatively cheap. I'll also have a link in my bio if I find them anywhere else. As you can see here, I actually have it slash into the tire and slash onto the rim side. Again, you don't want to inflate it all the way, so you can kind of like massage it in here, as I stated. Again, kind of just give you that shape back in here. Okay. Let's just get it into the actual tire itself. So let me just do it through. Once you get the stem inside, it kind of holds it in place. So I'm just going to massage it in here. Okay. All right. Sure. The tire actually goes, or the tube actually goes in the tire. I think it's easier, so you, like I said, you don't get a pinch flat. Okay. So far looks okay. Right here. Okie dokie. All right. Now, let's slowly start. I guess you could just do this with your hand. Slowly just getting the tire back onto the actual wire bead here. Oh. There we go. Just doing something here. Again, take your time when you're doing this so you actually can see what's happening with your tube here. a little bit of, there we go. All right, guys, looks a lot better here. Just make sure that all the beads are in, and yes, again, another thing that I forgot to mention was you also want to run your hands through the actual tire to make sure that there's no additional debris inside the tire, not just on the rim side, so you can get the best results when you do this. All right, great. Looks good. Tire is on. I was able just to put it in with my hand again. My recommendation for tube replacement will always be these slime tires for me. They're extra strong. They're self-sealing tubes. I have it on another e-bike that actually got the similar flat in the back. But I didn't change that other one out. I actually took it to the bike shop and I kind of got the idea from them, even though I actually took the wheel off, but I had to do all these extra steps. So I'm just trying to eliminate that. And again, if you have a table like this, I suggest, if you don't want to damage it, just to put a towel or something underneath it so the force of the gravity does not, totally fall out. And as you can see, I still even have the chain on here. And the next step here, just kind of want to give you guys a rough thing, and this is really smart that I think Aventon did, was actually having the kickstand that kicks up backwards here. And it's pretty strong too. It doesn't feel loose. I was actually going to retighten it after this, but it did its job. It held it while I was doing this. Again, you could always use the table. That's kind of an idea that I just got a couple minutes ago. Yeah, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the wheel back into the dropouts, give it a little bit of air, and I think this tire tube replacement should be completed. So I'm gonna pause the video really quick while I get it back into the dropouts. Again, I'm just gonna lift it, basically align it back in, and assemble the bike back up. All right, well, I was able to get it on. It was a bit tedious. Again, another idea I got, even though I'm using a table with a towel, and I also have the stop there with the pedal, meaning that the bike is, the wheel's not gonna be moving around. It's going to basically stay stationed there. Just an FYI, guys. But I was able to get the lug nut on there into the dropout. It's not completely centered, but I just wanted to hold it because it was heavy with the 500-watt motor that Aventon provides for this bike. But as you can see, the tire is on and the tube is inserted. On this side, I was able to tighten it. And that's what I wanted to do, was tighten it where the chain was at. The chain is actually back on. As you can see, the connector is off. Doesn't seem like I had any issues. One thing that I can say is I had to pull this back just so I can get that lug nut on. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take the bike off the stand and basically let the pressure of the bike push those lug nuts on so they can go on exactly aligned, especially on the other side. This side seems to be okay, but just for best practice, once you actually drop the bike, you probably will want to do that just to make sure that everything is aligned and tightened. One thing I have to say, if you do have one of these bikes and it comes with the Aventon wrench tool, this is a perfect tool because it is angled and it helps you actually get in there on an angle so you can actually tighten it. And that's kind of what I did here. But as you can see, I was able to actually insert the tool on this big tire bike without having to remove the wheel completely and still keep the chain on. So for the most part, right now it's working. Again, this is not the final product, but or the final repair here. I'm going to go ahead and slowly, with my bike pump, I will go ahead and inflate the tube just to make sure that the tube is not coming out of its seams here. And you can see that the actual reflector's pretty dirty. I will also clean that up once everything is good, and I'll drop the bike once the inflated tube is all set, and I'll realign the nuts here from the dropouts here and here. As you can see, you can still see a little gap, but I just tighten it the best I can because I was actually using one hand to hold the tire up, or the wheel up, and then the other one to actually tighten it, hand tighten it, and then I was able to kind of tighten it with this tool here. So I hope this video helps. Again, if you are going to do this and you do have a bike stand like this Park Tool bike stand that I have, it'd probably be easier if you have like a table like this, and if you have someone, or if you have a two-man operation or a two-woman operation that can help you basically hold the wheel up while you go ahead and tighten these nuts, and then you shouldn't have an issue. Then you should be able to tighten them all the way through and repair your bike and get back riding. I hope you guys like this video, and if you do, more to come as soon as I have the final product. Thank you so much. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, I have the bike off the stand completely now. It's on its stand. The tire is pretty much inflated. I believe I inflated it to like 35 pounds. It might need a little bit more. But everything seems to be good. I'm just gonna go ahead and loosen this so I can get it into that dropout correctly. Hopefully it just snaps right back in place. So I can tighten that up. Then we should be all set here. Sure that goes right back in. It looks like it's going in slowly. One more turn, loosey. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I will also loosen a little bit on the other side. Just to make sure it's all aligned here. And that looks like it might have did the trick there. I don't see any of the, let's give it another loose on this side. Okay, here. I just want to make sure that it's fully seated and it looks good. Everything seems to be all right here. Probably want to hand tighten it first. Okay. Just be Just take your time with it, especially if you don't want to scratch your bike frame. Nope. All right, that seems okay there. I'm gonna put it back on the stand here. This side looks good too. I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this all the way up. One key thing to remember is make sure that you have the washer on the outside. Basically the washers, there's gonna be two of them, and one that's seats on the back of the hub, and then one that also seats on the lug nut side. It's important, this way you have a nice tight wheel on the bike, and if for whatever reason doesn't come loose or damage anything. So it's super important. Just keep in mind of that. Again, this angled wrench by Aventon is absolutely key. So if you have this wrench, suggest you use it, as it can help. All right, looks good. Got a little scratch there, and that's probably when I was actually struggling with it a little bit. But yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is you might see around the actual reflector that it's been shaved off, and that's only because when I was riding it back, I had to kind of walk it back, and I actually ended up riding it back because it was about a 35-minute walk back. So just keep that in mind as well. Other than that, this is the finished product, and excuse the background noise. I actually had my my balcony door open just to get some fresh air, as it did make me sweat a little bit. But yeah, there it goes. Tube is inserted, slang tube's inserted. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill it up. Connect the connector cable back up, and I'm gonna show you this side as well, so you guys can get an idea of what I did here. I've already tightened this all the way back up. The chain actually fell right into place, so it looks like it's all good here. Again, I'm still gonna go ahead and check that. The cable connector is still disconnected. I'm gonna connect that up and basically power up the bike and take it for a test drive. If I have any issues or anything else that doesn't seem right, I will add it to this video. But overall, that's probably the fastest and easiest way you can actually take or change, I should say, the tube on an Aventon Pace 500 without having to break the zip ties and remove the wheel completely off. It's basically a partial wheel off, and you should be able to replace the tube with no problem. Hope you like this video. If you do, please like and subscribe. Again, I will have all the tools that I used for this fix in my bio, in case you guys want to go ahead and purchase these tools yourself to make your life a little bit easier. But overall, it wasn't too bad. It was probably the hardest thing for this fix was putting the wheel back up once I got the tube in, but yeah, everything worked great. And another key thing too is to make sure that when you're doing this, that your brake rotor goes into that caliper there, so everything's aligned and everything kind of falls just back into place. So yeah, it's all set. Thank you for watching.